Hi everyone, I hope this video finds all of you well and safe. Do any of you know anyone who has COVID-19? Do you have it? What is your experience like? How are you coping with this pandemic? I had someone comment on my most recent video, and this person said something like, "You're unbelievable," or "You're something else. During this pandemic, here you are still making videos about dogs." I deleted the comment so I can't show it to you, and I hid the person from my channel because they're just an asshat. But they said something like, "How can you be focused on dogs while all of this is going on? Like, you're something else." And I just thought I would make a quick video about this because I've been thinking about it. As of today, March 26th, there have been 509,517 coronavirus cases, with 23,008 deaths worldwide so far. So that's a lot of people. And I'm aware that these numbers are growing exponentially. There's no telling how many people will ultimately become infected and die from this virus. So, the situation's ongoing. Who knows how bad it's going to get? But the rabies virus is estimated to cause 59,000 human deaths annually. And dogs are the main source of human rabies deaths, contributing up to 99% of all rabies transmissions to humans. And due to widespread underreporting and uncertain estimates, it is likely that this number is a gross underestimate of the true burden of disease. So who knows how many people are actually becoming infected and dying from rabies? And I'm wondering, where is the worldwide emergency response to that situation? It's like nobody cares, right? And I've made a video about this, and people regularly comment on my rabies video and tell me things like, "Oh, you're so uneducated, you're so stupid, because bats are the number one cause of rabies now." These people are only referring to the United States. That is true for the United States of America, but come on, the world is bigger than the USA. I don't understand these people who seem to not care at all about what is going on beyond their borders. It's like they only care about what's happening to America. The world is bigger than America. And what is wrong with you that your compassion doesn't extend beyond your country? This is just, it boggles my mind. Is this racism? Is it because their skin is brown or black that you just don't care about them? I find that disgusting and incomprehensible. But anyhow, why is there this worldwide emergency response to COVID-19, but seemingly no concern at all for the rabies virus? Is it because the rabies virus isn't a big problem in Europe or North America? Is this racism? I don't know. But the fact is that animal rights organizations, dog worshippers, are fighting. They have successfully made it illegal to cull dogs in India now, where this problem is massive. And they're fighting with people to keep these dogs alive and on the streets. And despite the fact that the government is making promises to vaccinate and sterilize and do all this stuff, it's not getting done because they don't have the money. I've talked about this in other videos. And the problem is only escalating. It's getting worse. People continue to die, not only from the rabies virus, but through attacks, dog attacks. And this is another thing. I can't find worldwide statistics, but just in the United States alone, dog bites send nearly 316,200 victims to hospital emergency departments every year. That's 898 people per day. Approximately 750,000 dog bite victims require medical care each year. And in the USA alone, in 2015, that's 5 years ago, these numbers are undoubtedly much higher today because the rate of dog ownership has gone up. More people than ever are owning dogs now. And so the number of dog bites and dog attacks is definitely going to rise. I'm just waiting for more recent statistics to quote here, but at least 28,000 people required reconstructive surgery in that year. I did the math. That's at least 77 people per day that require reconstructive surgery. These are people who are becoming disfigured by dog attacks. That means their faces are being ripped off, their limbs are being ripped off, or severely, damaged. They're going to be scarred for life. It's not like these dog attacks happen and then, they're patched up and then life goes on for them. As usual, these people's lives are destroyed. They are left with trauma for the rest of their lives. In many cases, these people are scared to leave their homes. They can't function normally and hold jobs. Their faces are completely scarred. Have you ever seen these pictures? I'm hesitant to show you these pictures in this video because dog nuts are going to report my video and have it taken down because they don't want me showing these pictures. They want to sweep it all under the rug, pretend that it's not happening. These people's lives are ruined because of these dog attacks. 77 at least per day. I really wonder what those numbers are now in 2020. I bet my life they're much higher than that. And these numbers are not a true reflection of the scope of human suffering caused by dogs. How many people have had to give up their careers, can no longer work, are permanently disabled, crippled because of Lyme disease or other tick-borne diseases? See my video about Lyme disease or a host of other diseases transmitted to us by dogs. Parasitic infections, all the viral and bacterial infections that permanently disable people, leave them blind, leave them paralyzed. I've talked a lot about the different diseases that dogs transmit to us. This is only the tip of the iceberg. And it's just so beyond ridiculous. If you follow any of these pit bull awareness groups out there or pages on Facebook, whatever, you're going to see stuff like this every single day. It's just one after another, after another, after another. And nothing is being done. Nothing's changing. Nobody's outraged. Bob Wagner, prayers are not going to help your granddaughter. I don't want to drag religion into this. I don't want to upset my religious viewers. But what we need is not thoughts and prayers or love and light. We need legislation. We need to ban these maulers from our communities. Period. They're talking about Donald Trump wants to send military personnel to watch the border, the US-Canada border, to make sure no one's crossing illegally. We need to mobilize the military. We need to call in the army to deal with these frickin' pitbull nutters, people, because they are a huge threat to public health and safety. Where is the public response to this? Why are people not afraid? Why are they not demanding, legislation to protect us? When most of these dog attacks are taking place when people are walking down the street, minding their own business, the majority of dogs doing the attacking are family dogs that were raised with love, that were never abused, never mistreated, that showed no aggression at all for many, many years, sometimes 6 years, sometimes 8 years or more. They were the sweetest, most affectionate dogs. People slept with them in their beds, trusted them with their children, until one day, out of the blue, they ripped someone's face off because they coughed, or because they came around the corner a little too quickly, or because they were taking down their Christmas tree, or because they were sleeping in their crib, or because they were sitting on their bed, or because they were riding their bike, playing with their toys in their yard, minding their own business. These dog worshippers always blame the victim. They say the dog must have been provoked, when usually there's no evidence for that at all, and usually the dog was not provoked. It was just acting on its predatory instincts because, surprise, surprise, it's a predator. What do you expect? These people become shocked and they can't believe that a predator would actually display predatory behavior. This is crazy. Most of these dog attacks are completely unprovoked when you look at the evidence, right? But what are people looking at instead? They're looking at myths. They're looking at memes. They're just looking at this bullshit that's not reflective of what is actually taking place. And they're going with that. They're not looking at the facts. They're not looking at the statistics. They're believing lies. They're believing the propaganda that is being shoved down our throats by our government, by those in authority, by the commercials that we see, by the movies that are streaming on Netflix or shown in the cinemas, in the books that are being sold on the shelves, the magazines, everywhere you look. The message is that these dogs are safe. These dogs are wonderful. It's all in how you raise them. There are no bad dogs, only bad owners. You're a cold-hearted, soulless monster if you don't want one or want to have one around you. If you complain about them in your neighborhood, you're like subhuman scum. And there are commercials on TV telling us that we should go out and purchase these creatures that are maiming and mauling people every day. And that we should, hand over our money, make donations to all of these organizations that are working really hard at keeping these creatures in our communities. In fact, pushing more of them into our communities. These creatures that are a major public health hazard. And I'm not just talking about pit bulls here. I'm talking about dogs in general that are spreading disease with their untreated waste. And it's not just pit bulls that are attacking people. And dogs that are ruining our health with their barking. I made videos about this. They are so destructive to our health and safety in so many different ways. And yet we are guilted into purchasing them. If you don't want one, you're a cold-hearted monster. And if you speak negatively about them, you're subhuman scum. And why is nobody baffled by this? We are expected to just stand there and let dogs kill us, basically, because if you defend yourself or your children against an attacking dog, you're a monster and people want you lynched. They expect you to just stand there and be attacked. You're not allowed to defend yourself even. Police officers are losing their jobs for defending themselves. And even if you or your loved ones have been attacked by dogs, you are still expected to worship them. You're still expected to say dogs are pure and always innocent and unconditionally loving, wonderful creatures. If you don't agree with that, you're still a monster, regardless of the fact that you've been attacked in the past. You're still expected. It's so crazy. So crazy. And I've been thinking about this whole COVID thing, and I came across this article the other day. I thought it was very interesting. How COVID-19 and pit bulls show we are in pain by Roderick Balt. Now, I'm not sure I agree with everything he writes. I'm going to put the link in the description for you to read, and I'm very interested in hearing your thoughts. But he starts by writing, despite not being evidently more dangerous than a heavy flu, which can kill tens of thousands of the most vulnerable people without sparking panic, the COVID-19 virus has terrified much of the public worldwide, resulting in disproportionate measures being taken to manage the outbreak. See, right there, I'm not sure. I don't know, because I've read that COVID-19 does have a higher death rate. Let's have a look at this article that was published on the livescience.com website yesterday. It states that the coronavirus has led to 20,550 deaths worldwide so far. Well, already today that number has gone up. It's a lot of people, but For comparison, in the US alone, like those numbers at 20,550, that's worldwide. In the US alone, the flu has caused an estimated 38 million illnesses with 390,000 hospitalizations and 23,000 deaths this season. More people have died in the USA alone from the flu this season than people have died from COVID-19 worldwide. So why is there this worldwide emergency response, and why are our towns shut down, and why are we in self-isolation? Well, scientists say that it's because they have studied seasonal flu for decades and they know much more about it. In contrast, very little is known about the new coronavirus and the disease it causes. So, yeah, it's new, and because there's so much that they don't know about it, they are taking these drastic measures to protect the public. It says the death rate from seasonal flu is typically around 0.1% in the US. Though the death rate from COVID-19 is unclear, most research suggests it is higher than that of the seasonal flu. In a study published in February, researchers found a death rate from COVID-19 to be about 2.3% in mainland China. Another study of about 1,100 hospitalized patients in China, published February 28th, found that the overall death rate was slightly lower, around 1.4%. It appears that the death rate for COVID-19 varies by location and an individual's age, among other factors. So, for example, the death rate soars to 14.8% in those 80 years old and over. Among those aged 70 to 79, the COVID-19 death rate in China seems to be about 8%. It's 3.6% for those aged 60 to 69, 1.3% for those between the age of 50 and 59, 0.4% for the age group 40 to 49, and just 0.2% for people ages 10 to 39. So to say COVID-19 is not evidently more dangerous than a heavy flu is not accurate, in my opinion. But getting back to this Roderick Balt and the piece he wrote, I think it's worth reading, and I recommend you have a look at it. He talks about how there's this disproportionate overreaction. I don't know if I agree with that either. I think we need to be concerned. But yeah, I think sometimes that people are going overboard with their response. I think that this whole, hoarding of toilet paper and clearing shelves in supermarkets is disgraceful and just sickening and absolutely uncalled for. Because there's no indication that the supply chains are going to stop supplying us with food or toilet paper. Stuff is still coming in. There's not going to be a shortage. So why are people hoarding? It's awful. And it's the panic that I see that frightens me more than the actual virus itself. I am more afraid of the people's reaction than I am of the virus. And something I'm seeing a lot of, which I have no tolerance for, are people who like to go around sowing panic and fear and dread in others. It's almost as if it's a form of negative attention seeking. I don't know, they like to make other people feel upset by spreading misinformation, by making assertions for which they have no evidence. These conspiracy theorists that are coming up with these ideas that are just... You're not helping anything. You're just making things worse. You're making people panic. You're making people believe shit that's not real, that's not true. And I know that a lot of my viewers that really hate dogs are desperate to put this on dogs, to blame dogs for this virus and for the spread of this disease. There's no evidence that this virus originated in dogs. This virus most closely resembles a virus that's found in bats. It's believed this virus originated in a wet market in China. I'm going to share a link to this video with you in the description. I would like you all to watch it, please. Dr. Greger, who runs the website nutritionfacts.org, gave a speech back in 2008. It's not the bat's fault. It's not the fault of animals. These viruses originate in animals, yes, but they're not to blame. It's humans that are to blame for going into their territory, for cutting down the jungles, for going out there and killing these animals and eating these animals and being in close contact with these animals and raising them in confined spaces. And it's not just these wild bush meat markets. You look at chimpanzees and the Ebola virus, and the bush meat thing in Africa. It also originates in poultry, in pigs. These, look at the bird flu, swine flu, these pandemics originate, yes, with animals, but often with livestock that we as Westerners eat and raise in these unnatural conditions where these animals are kept in factory farms and just cramped and stressed and diseased. And watch the video, please. I have told people that I promote a plant-based diet, and a lot of people are very ignorant about plant-based diets, and they think that we subsist on supplements, which is not true. The only thing you need to supplement is vitamin B12, and you can choose to take it in the form of a supplement, or you can eat B12 fortified foods such as non-dairy milks and meat alternatives, which are fortified. And all you need to do is consume 2 cups of non-dairy milk a day and you meet your recommended daily intake for B12. It's very simple. And, people who think that is unnatural, well, is it more natural to feed B12 supplements to cattle or livestock and then consume the B12 that is recycled through their dead bodies and secretions that way? Because these animals are not eating naturally. B12 is a bacteria found in the soil. And so these animals are being fed an unnatural diet. So they're getting the supplements, and then we're in turn getting the supplements through their flesh and secretions. Isn't it simpler to just take the supplement yourself directly rather than recycle it through them? Raising livestock leads to environmental destruction. It is the major cause of global warming, climate change, ocean acidification, deforestation, animal extinction. It goes on and on and on. Watch my video about the nature crisis. But something I didn't talk about in that video is, these diseases, these viruses that are born in these farms, in these markets where animals are cooped up in stressed conditions. We need to change the way we eat. And we cannot feed a population of 7+ billion with backyard raised chickens. There are not enough backyards to feed all these people. We need factory farms in order to satisfy the appetites of all these people. Most of them are living in cities. They can't raise their own livestock like we did hundreds of years ago, or for thousands of years, actually. Anyways, I'm going way off topic right now. Please watch that video. It's very, very eye-opening and informative and important. If we want to prevent this from happening in the future, we need to change the way we eat. Getting back to the subject of COVID-19 and dogs. So in this article I'm sharing with you, the author writes about how there is this disproportionate fear in response to COVID-19, this panic, this overreaction. While on the other hand, most people have great trouble recognizing the danger of pit bulls and other dangerous dog breeds. The author, by the way, is a dog owner. I'm not sure what type of dogs he owns, but he's not one of us. He does own dogs. He's like many dog worshippers who worship dogs, but recognize the danger of bully breeds, of dogs that have the ability to kill a fit adult human. And as I have discussed in many previous videos, have a higher prey drive than other smaller, safer breeds. He writes that despite overwhelming data showing the risks of keeping these dogs and being around them, many of us seem to disregard what should be a gut feeling of danger and instead believe lies about these dogs, such as the myth that pit bulls were ever nanny dogs, which demonstrably gets many more children killed and maimed each year than have so far died or been otherwise directly harmed by COVID-19. And he writes here that both the panic about COVID-19 and believing that pit bulls are harmless seem reasonable at first glance when we hear of thousands of COVID-19 deaths or see the cheerful and affectionate side of pit bulls. So he says a lot of things. This article is quite long. And, basically it's like we're just going with what the media is feeding us. Not a lot of people are thinking critically about anything. They're just, becoming panicked over what they're being told to panic about. And they are reacting with, warm, fuzzy feelings to things that we're told to react that way to without using their brains, without looking at the science, without looking at the facts. I like what he writes here. I believe fear of COVID-19 and indifference toward pit bull attacks are both issues showing how, in order to survive among our peers, we are far too often called upon from childhood onward to detach from our visceral experience, our gut feelings. The resulting split, once established, is not easily repaired and permits all sorts of painful situations to evolve, especially when dishonest, fearful, aggressive, or negligent behavior is ever more rewarded with social acceptance. What I'm taking away from this article is what I've been saying all along, is that our society is very, very sick. And, we need to practice critical thinking. We're all capable of it. I think it's that most people are just afraid of it. And they are afraid to go against what they are being told by their authorities, to go against what they are being told by the majority. Because we are herd animals, we have evolved to go with what the herd is doing, go with what the herd is saying, and not question. Oh, everyone else is going into the supermarkets and buying up all the toilet paper and Lysol wipes and bleach. Oh, I better do the same and go clear the shelves and leave nothing for the next customer, even though there's no evidence at all that these items are going to stop coming in. I'm going to do what everyone else is doing just because everyone else is doing it. I better do it too. Oh, everyone else is getting a dog. I better get a dog. I want to fit in. Everyone on social media is telling me these toaster-headed, rattlesnake-eyed, shark-mouthed chupacabras are great dogs to have around their kids and they're great babysitters. Oh, well, then I better get one too. Never mind the fact that probably more than 80 people are going to the reconstructive surgeon every single day in America because of these mutants. Oh, no, let's not look at the facts. Let's not look at the science. Let's not look at the statistics. Let's just go with the myths and what the herd is saying. Let's do what the majority is doing because I'm a herd animal. Oh, I better go along with that. That's how stupid people are. And we need to, first of all, shine light upon this behavior and then recognize how detrimental it is to us. Look at us. Look how we're living. We're all stuck in our homes, scared. We can't go out, can't socialize, can't order from companies that we normally deal with because they're shut down. Economically, it's a disaster. People are wondering how they're going to pay their rent. It's a nightmare, right? And people are dying from this virus. Why? Because somewhere people were clinging to their magical thinking and believing in their delusions while ignoring science, believing that these exotic animal parts will enhance their sexual performance or cure them of diseases, believing that they need to eat animal products to meet their nutritional requirements. Again, ignoring science, ignoring evidence. And here we are. We're afraid to go outside because of dogs. Everywhere I look, I hear in the news that, oh, it's important to go outside and get sunshine and fresh air. Who wants to do that when our communities are absolutely infested with these unpredictable killing machines that are running around and disfiguring people every day? Who wants to open their door and sit on their deck when they're constantly being barked at by their neighbors' dogs? Who wants to go for a walk when you run the risk of being mauled or killed? And I don't want to go outside. I open my door and these dogs from all directions start barking at me. Oh, isn't that fun and relaxing to go play and jump on my trampoline when the fucking dogs are all barking at me? Who wants to do that? Who wants to go for a walk on a hiking path or a walking path or trail, whatever, when all these people with their off-leash dogs are walking around with their big stupid smiles on their faces like they're doing you a goddamn favor by letting their intrusive, rude animal rush up into your personal space and stick its nose into you and rub its snot all over you, and hairs and allergens and traces of fecal matter and urine? No, thank you. Also, I recently read this. Second dog tests positive for coronavirus as owners warned not to abandon pets. When you read this article, they explain that dogs do not get sick from the virus. There is currently no evidence that pets can be a source of the virus or that they can get sick from it. Infectious disease experts and multiple international and domestic human and animal health organizations all agree there is no evidence at this point to indicate that pets become ill with COVID-19 or that they spread it to other animals, including people. Now, there's also no evidence to indicate that they can't spread it to people. In the same article, they say that the Hong Kong government has urged people not to abandon their pets and to stop kissing them after a second dog tested positive for the virus. They're saying that people with COVID-19 who are ill should limit contact with animals until more information is known about the virus. It's recommended pet owners use good hygiene practices and avoid kissing their pets. Something that's really weird is that the first dog that tested weak positive, apparently died 2 days after it was released from quarantine. It was apparently disease-free, but the dog's owner wasn't willing to allow an autopsy to determine the cause of death. They're saying the dog likely died from other causes than COVID-19, but we don't know. There's a lot we don't know still, and we need to keep that in mind. The AFCD, which stands for Agriculture, Fisheries and Conservation Department, strongly advises that mammalian pet animals, including dogs and cats, from households with persons infected with COVID-19 or those who have had close contact with others infected with the virus, should be quarantined in government facilities. Well, I would like to know what percentage of those infected with COVID-19 are quarantining their pets in government facilities. How many people are doing that? How many of these dogs that get out somehow and are running around our communities, quote unquote, lost, right? Those faithful dogs, so loyal, always running away from their owners. How many of those dogs have traces of the virus on them? I found this article, which I'll share with you in the description, where a veterinarian said social distancing applies to pets as well as humans. And they explain that if the virus particles are on the dog, and let's say the dog licks a person's hand who is infected, and then comes and licks you, like all dogs do, then it is possible it could be transmitted. It's possible the virus could be transmitted. Even though the dog doesn't get sick, it can still transfer the virus to you. So why is it then that animal shelters And all these places are still pushing for people to go out and purchase these disease-carrying, useless, unnecessary creatures, which are only going to increase the risk of people getting infected with the novel coronavirus. Should we not be doing everything in our power to decrease that risk? This is madness. Everywhere I look, I'm seeing animal shelters pleading with people to help foster their dogs because, they're running out of people to help, but whatever. They want people to foster. They don't have supplies. They don't have this. They don't have that. Help, 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 donate, blah, blah, blah. Get your priorities in fucking order. We should be concerned with human life here. What is wrong with people? Look at this. One of the members of our Canine Aversion Closed Facebook group responded to this idiocy and wrote, "This is not the time to foster or adopt a pet. In a pandemic, one should help fellow humans over animals. There are children without food right now." And this is the response they got. She probably supports the video of the Korean man boiling the dog alive, yes, alive, to be eaten. He is literally rolling the poor dog in hot water on a hot stove. You can hear the dog scream and bark and blah, blah, blah. So in other words, because you are concerned with human life, because you make humans a priority, then you must support dog torture. That's the leap dog worshippers make in their minds. And that showcases how mentally ill they are. Another member of the group commented, again, jumping to the conclusion that you're basically just the worst and most evil person on the planet and accusing you of shit that isn't even remotely related to your comment. God, I hope someone finally makes a mental disorder to go with this and starts diagnosing it. Someone else wrote, "Funny thing is, these creatures are still heavily being promoted. While everything else has slowed for the most part, the endless propaganda promoting these worthless mutts continues on and on." When it comes to the novel coronavirus and the disease it causes called COVID-19, we're dealing with a constantly evolving situation. There are enormous amounts of misinformation circulating. And I would like you to all please get your health information only from reputable sources, such as the World Health Organization, the CDC, Center for Disease Control. In Canada, check out the Government of Canada website. HealthLink BC is a place I go for my information here in British Columbia. Check out your regional health authority for information, and use your brain. Practice your critical thinking skills and keep things in perspective. I'm going to leave you with a couple of things I found in the Canine Aversion Facebook group that are not coronavirus related, but I thought this was interesting. "I haven't seen The Wizard of Oz in decades," someone wrote. "Do you remember the start? I hadn't. Toto bit the neighbor. Dorothy won't give the dog up. Runs away from home, meets the traveling man who's cooking a sausage over a fire. Dog steals sausage off the fork, and we are meant to look favorably upon this." Crazy. It's just so crazy. Now check out this video.
Below. It's okay. That cut. Okay. Good girl. Good girl. Well,
I have talked about this numerous times, how dog owners repeat "good girl" or "good boy" to their dogs when the dogs are doing nothing. Fuck all. Nothing. What is this dog doing to merit a good girl? It's lying there with its mouth stuck in the cage. That's it. How is it being a good girl? Someone in our group left a comment that made me laugh my ass off. And you know who you are. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for making me laugh. You leave the funniest comments, and man, we need humor to help us get through this craziness. They wrote, Fuck this dog. I would have let this mauler rot. Then I would put some fresh red meat down 2 inches away from the from the dumb dog's mouth so that it can salivate over it for the rest of its pitiful life. Man, that's so funny. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you all stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you next time.